Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Back in Starkville after the weekend in Gainesville. Got home about 12:30 last night. Got a few hours sleep. Got it at the radio this morning, so here we are. If you hadn't done so, you can go over and read our exclusive interview with Bryce Chance following yesterday's heartbreaking loss to Florida. We're going to break down the final two games of the series. We'll look ahead to what's next for Mississippi State. But yeah, we had a golden opportunity to take a very elusive and very crucial SEC road series and came up a couple innings short of actually getting a sweep. I don't think Florida feels like they're better than us, but the scoreboard indicates that they are. All of that said, and this may be a hot take, I think Mississippi State's one of the best teams in the country. Now, we've got to figure out how to close out games, offensively and defensively. But this is a team that's got some really good pieces. And I would caution, too, for those of you that haven't gone back and looked, do you remember how dreadful things were last year after 3 weeks of SEC play? And so, again, I just offer that those that you kind of hang on to, hey, this is the same team we've had the last 2 years, that's just not correct. Real quick, too, you may have seen that they're announcing the field for the Cayman Islands Classic. Our Justin Frommer broke that news back in September that State was going to be in the field. So if you're thinking about that for next year, be a nice little retreat. Go over to the Cayman Islands, see some men's basketball. And again, I think things are still continuing to trend upwards for the Bulldogs. That's something you've known for a while, but maybe you've forgotten. But congratulations to Justin for getting that big scoop months ago. It's not a new development. Some have suggested that it is. It's not a new development. Again, we got that information. I'll give you the exact date. September 26th. Yeah, so it's been a while. But if you're thinking about that, I would encourage you to go ahead and begin to make some plans now. Contact your travel agent. Be a nice little holiday retreat in many respects. Get out there, out of this cold weather. Go to the Caymans and then support the Bulldogs. That's a super, super cool thing. So, again, be sure and check that out. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company. I am committed to getting Bulldog Burger Company this week again. Got it last week. I'll get it one night for dinner this week. And maybe a lunch. We'll see how things go. I don't have to leave town for a couple weeks. And so pretty happy about that. I do get out and enjoy traveling, but I do enjoy being home to enjoy the fine delicacies that are available to me at Bulldog Burger Company, whether that be the Sloppy Joe sliders for lunch with some onion rings. You know, I hate uncooked onions, but I do love onion rings. I am a riddle wrapped inside of an enigma. But I love going in there, whether I get it to go or whether I eat in there. Nobody takes care of me like Bulldog Burger Company. It's the same for you, too. They don't just treat me special. They treat everybody that way because in their minds, you're family. 3 great locations to serve you. University Drive here in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They will make you and everybody around you better looking. They're absolutely delicious. And get that chocolate shake to go. I'm more of a Nutella fan. I know that I'm dating myself a little bit. I liked it when Nutella came out. I still like it. And those weekly specials, too. Follow them on social media to kind of keep abreast of what's happening at Bulldog Burger Company because you never know, your new favorite may be featured this week. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet, M-E-A-T. All right. Like many of you, when I went to bed Friday night, I said, you know what? I wonder how this team will respond to such a heartbreaking loss Friday night. We had the game. We were in control. We're up 6-2. We blow it. We've already recapped that game. We're not going to rehash it today. But Chris Simonos and I spoke Friday night after the ball game. And Chris said, hey, we're going to find out what we're made of tomorrow. And he was absolutely correct. And thankfully, the Bulldogs came out and really played well in this game. Seth Buckminster was our home plate umpire. I thought he was really good. It's amazing how that matters, right? This time last year was the first time with the TrackMan technology. It was a little bit rigid. You got a little more play this year, and I think you're seeing some better zones for the most part. Also would like to point out that Morris Hodges, according to the box scores of the weekend, did not officiate an SEC game this past weekend after the incident that happened with Hunter Hines at College Station, Texas. Hunter Hines did play all 4 games last week, and Morris Hodges did not officiate. I went double-checked myself Sunday morning. So unless he snuck in to a Sunday game, he did not officiate this weekend, and that's good to see. There has to be accountability. All right, so we get into the first inning here, and not a lot going for State early. Larry fouls out to the catcher. Marshawn walks. Lengthy at bat there, and I asked Chris Amonis about that later in the weekend. There's probably not a better guy in the lineup that is driving up pitch counts than Dave Marshawn. This guy probably has more pitches faced than anybody in a Bulldog uniform. Lengthy at bat here, and he wins the war and gets the walk. We get the stolen base, and DJ strikes out swinging. We had some success with that on Friday with the stolen base, where we had 2 stolen bases and both guys come around to score. And then Hines lines out to right field, hit the ball well, 0-2 count, hit it well. Not much to show for it. Bottom of 1, Durangelo absolutely shoving. 3 strikeouts in the home half of the first. Gets Shelton, Evans, and Caglione. Lengthy at bat with Cags. Kind of held him down most of the weekend, but he finally got us on Sunday. But not much going for him throughout the week. All right, top of second. Hyzak grounds out to short. Downs strikes out swinging. Aaron Downs a really tough weekend. I think he's having a tough time picking up spin. He had some pretty wild swings on some sliders down and away. Bryce Chance singles to center field here to kind of get something going on a full count, and then he gets picked off. Unfortunate development there. I mean, we finally break through there, have a chance to extend the inning, and we give it right back to him. So hadn't had a base running blunder like that in a while, but that was a tough one. All right, bottom of the second, Florida gets on the board and actually takes an early lead here. Shelnut flies out to center. Curlin doubles down the left field line. Heyman grounds out to the shortstop, and Curlin takes third. We walk Yost, and then Garrison, the catcher, singles up the middle, more to left center. The run scores. It's a 1-3 ball game, and then Michael Robertson flies out to left. I tell you, the Garrison kid's a big physical kid. He had pretty good swings this weekend. I think he is a bit of a liability behind the plate, to be honest with you. I really do. He's a little stiff back there. And I thought when we had the opportunity to steal against him, we were able to do so successfully. All right, top of third, State trying to get even here, and we don't. It's a 1-2-3 inning. Chester strikes out swinging. Chester played in place of Logan Kohler at third, trying to find some success in that spot in the order, right? Long flies out to left, and then Larry grounds out to the shortstop. Bottom of third, Durangelo really kind of settled in here. We get a ground out to second from Shelton. Elvinson grounds out to second. Really nice play here. And then Caglione grounds out to the pitcher. Again on a full count. All right, top of 4. The suddenly powerful Dave Marshawn gets the home run party started with a solo shot to right field. Off the bat, I said, that's trouble. And then I turned to the guy next to me. I said, is that fixing to get out? And it did. It leaks over the fence. It's a 1-1 ball game. And that's when you start thinking, when Dave Marshawn is going, so are the Mississippi State Bulldogs. 3 pitches later, Dakota Jordan hits an absolute tank job to left field to make it a 2-1 game. Hansen follows with a very sharp single to right field. So 3 really, really well-struck balls here. And then Hyzak flies out to right, too. That ball maybe not hit quite as well, but you're starting to see State get some pretty solid contact here in the inning, which meant a lot because of the fact you knew that you were beginning to figure some things out with this pitcher. They weren't going to be able to hang around for long. Downs and strikes out swinging. Chance walks, which pushes Hunter to second, and then Nate Chester. Spot starter for State, kind of a utility guy, kind of a Tanner Leggett type. Singles to right field. The run scores, and Chance takes third. So now there's runners on the corners, and State leads 3-1. Johnny Long, who actually has the 3rd highest on-base percentage on this team. Crazy, right? Long and singles through the left side. Another run scores. Now runners at first and second. And then Amani Larry singles to center very sharply. And Chester scores to make it a 5-1 ball game. And Amani Larry, too, has the 4th highest on-base percentage on this team. Seen some comments, people say we need to drop Larry into order. I disagree. His on-base percentage is outstanding. Some of that's because he continues to get hit with the baseball. It's weird how that happens. But he's finding a way to get on base, and that's really what you want. You want your leadoff guy to get on. You want your number 2 guy to be able to move him in a scoring position and then have the heart of your order drive him in. But, Amani, really nice base hit here. There is now separation in the game. They elect to pull Liam Peterson, who really, really, really struggled to miss bats in this order, and they bring in Smith, and he gets Mershon to fly out center field. Even that ball was struck really well. Not going to be a home run, but ball was hit well. And so what do you need after you put up a crooked number? More than anything else, you need a clean inning, and we get one here, but it's interesting how it all works out. Shelnut gets the single down the third base line, and then we nearly turn 2 here. We're not able to get it, and then Heyman grounds in a double play. So we face the minimum, even though we give up the leadoff single there. And good defense by the Bulldogs. All right, top of 5. Dakota Jordan nearly hits one to Orlando. Absolute tape measure type home run here. Makes it a 6-1 ball game, and it really felt like at this point in the game, it said, you know what? Mississippi State just simply has Florida's number today. No matter who they trotted out there, it just kind of felt like this was going to be our day. And you could sense it from our dugout, who was very, very engaged throughout the ball games. Hunter Heinzen follows again with another sharp single to right, and then Connor Hyzak. 2-run job, dead center field. It is an 8-1 game, and it really felt like at this point the game was over. It was just a matter of what the final score was going to be. Down, strikes out again, swinging. He mentioned he had a tough weekend. He did. Then when the book gets out on those guys, it's tough, right? You got to make an adjustment. Bryce Jansen flies out to right center, and Chester grounds out to third. So the first 3 Bulldogs that come to the plate in the 5th end up scoring, and the final 3, don't do anything. And again, what do you need after a crooked number? You need a clean inning, and you get a 1-2-3 one here. Yost flies out to left, short left, as Dave Mershon runs it down. Garrison strikes out swinging. Robertson strikes out swinging. That's 7-8-9 for Florida. And you really get the sense they're running out of outs. But Bulldogs are like, you know what? We're not going to go into this situation that we did Friday. We're going to continue to attack. And Long works and works and works and works a count here and gets the walk. And they bring in Philpott in place of Smith. Let everything grounds into double play, and you think, okay, well, this is it. This inning is over. But you're wrong. Mershon again with another lengthy at bat. Just battling and battling and battling and battling. And he gets a walk. And then DJ doubles to right center. Mershon takes third. So now you got 2 runners in scoring position. They elect to walk Hunter Hines with the base open. And Connor Hyzak at some point begins to take this stuff personally. Like they're walking DJ to get to Hunter, then they walk Hunter to get to Connor. Connor's actually been one of the better hitters in the Bulldog lineup this year. We talked about him being an X factor for us, and still think he has a chance to get double-digit home runs. He has reinvented himself this year. And then Hyzak doubles to right field to clear the bases. It was a crazy situation here. It was basically a pop-up, but it was one of those pop-ups that kind of finds the Bermuda Triangle out there. Everybody's converging. Nobody can make the play. Second baseman's going out. Right fielder's coming in. Nobody takes charge. The ball is down. Everybody scores. It's 11-1. And at that point, there were, in the words of Jack Crystal, action in the aisles at Condren Family Ballpark as many Florida Gator fans decided to seek their entertainment elsewhere. Downs then singles to the left side to push Hyzak to third, and then Chance grounds out. There's a little nubber out there in front of the plate to the catcher. But it's an 11-1 ball game, bottom of 6. And again, you get the crooked number. You want to get the clean inning. We don't here. But the pace of this game really favored Mississippi State, and certainly the scoreboard did as well. But we get a leadoff walk here, and then a single. It was one of those things, too, that single to second. Just, it's one of those tough plays. We just couldn't make the throw. Caglione then lies out to first. We had the double play at second. We could have doubled off Shelton, and Hines just didn't recognize it at the time. Tried to get back to the bag, but one out there. Then Shelnut strikes out looking, and Kurland, on a 2-2 count, laces a single to right center. The run scores, makes it 11-2, and Haven flies out to center. So that's, again, you just want to get the game over and you're willing to trade the run for the out. Top of 7th, they pull Garrison, bring in Dene, the reserve catcher, And State goes 1-2-3 here in the seventh. Chester grounds out to second, Long grounds out to first baseman, and then Larry strikes out looking. And right here, to be honest with you, I'm thinking, are we fixing a 10-run roll these guys? All right, bottom of 7. And Gerangelo's still rolling hard. He had a lot of family in town from Curacao. I was told, though I haven't confirmed, I was told this was his dad's only the second time he's been in the United States. Pretty significant, right? Had a ton of family there. And Gerangelo was absolutely putting on one of the better performances of his career. He gets Yost swinging, Dene swinging. They pinch hit Brookins for Robertson, and he grounds out to Gerangelo. Kind of a good way to end his outing, I would suspect there. 11-2 now after 7. Top of 8. State goes 1-2-3. Mershon grounds out to short. Jordan grounds out to second. Hansen strikes out swinging. Drop third strike. They do throw him out there. Bottom of 8, we bring in Tyson Harden, who was really, really good. And we talk about these back-end issues. Tyson Harden is a name that cannot be forgotten in those discussions. He gets Shelton out at first. Evans strikes out swinging. Caglione gets a single up the middle, and it was kind of a bleeder, right? It was just one of those things that just, we were in the shift, and he just found a way to muscle one through there. But a single for him, and then they pinch run for him. Not that it matters. Probably just trying to get some fluids in him in advance of Sunday's start. And then Shellnut strikes out swinging, and it was filthy. I mean, Tyson Harden had that slider and the sinker ball working, which keeps people off the fastball. It's a really, really good effort from him. Top of 9, State gets the run back here. Isaac homers to left, his second of the game, the 5th overall for Mississippi State. Downs then walks on 4 straight pitches. Chance reaches on the fielder's choice, just unable to turn 2, had to force a runner there at second. Chester then hits one on the nose, but it's a liner to left, basically right at the fielder, and then Long lines out to the second baseman. See, even then, even with a 12-2 advantage, State still barreling some balls up. Bottom of 9, Harden goes out there and and give Kevin O'Sullivan some credit here. It's like the game is over. Let's get out of here. They let Albert get a pinch hit there, and he strikes out swinging. Wilson pitch hits for Heyman. He grounds out to the pitcher, and then Yost walks, and then A flies out to left. And so I appreciate coaches who recognize when they're beat and just say, hey, let's not prolong this. Let's not waste any more arms. Let's just kind of get this thing done. Get some young guys some at-bats, reward some guys. But Gerangelo advances his record 5-1 on the year. 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 runs, both of them earned, 8 Ks, 2 walks. He threw 109 pitches, and I think 16 of those were from the left side. And you always want to keep him under 100 pitches from the right side. Liam Peterson drops his record to 1-3. He goes 3 2/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, all earned, 4 Ks, 2 walks. And, of course, State doing some yard work against him. Grayson Smith comes in, goes 1 1/3, allows 3 hits, 3 runs. Alex Philpott, 4 innings pitched, and really was big for them when there was separation in the game because they could save some arms for Sunday. But Philpott, 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs. So basically, State hit whoever they trotted out there. Florida ended up throwing 182 pitches. And, of course, we had to play the full 9. State just 134. So a lot more efficient work from the Bulldog pitching staff. And you really felt good about Sunday because you said, hey, we only had to use 2 arms on Saturday. And there was a lot of acrimony leaving that ballpark, right? It's like Friday night, it was like a celebration. And Saturday, it was like a funeral. Those that remained for the final 9 were not happy. And it's like, you know what? We got embarrassed in our own ballpark. And I even had some Florida fans tell me we should have lost on Friday. We should be 0-2. But they weren't. They weren't 0-2 in a weekend. That's important to understand. State has been a better team for 17 of 18 innings. And so you go into Sunday thinking, okay, we still have a chance to take a series. We have the momentum. All right, Bulldog fans, many of us grew up in a time we didn't lock our doors. We didn't feel the need to. We didn't have a need to. But the world is a much different place today than it was when we were much younger. Surely you've seen your neighbors have these video doorbells and things of that nature. You can have the same peace of mind, but also the convenience that you grew up with our friends at Eufy. That's EUFY. Very, 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 very simple product here. Very easy to install, and you set it up with just a Phillips screwdriver. No drilling required, no power tools, anything like that. You get the keyless entry. You don't have to fumble around with the keys when you got your hands full. You never have to worry about your kids losing their keys. Or perhaps you've got a rental property and you worry about people passing that key around. You also don't have the anxiety of having this battery that goes down on you. Guys, you got 4 months of power here, and you get a low battery notification before it runs out so you can charge it back up. It's pretty simple. There's no monthly fee, unlike a lot of other brands that charge you that fee. You can have your recordings locally and never have to pay for storage. Eufy is also on standby for you 24/7, and you can get a worry-free experience with an 18-month warranty, all backed by our professional customer service team. Contact them anytime by telephone, email, or even live chat, which is awfully, awfully convenient. And here's the thing. There's just so much out there in the world these days. Wouldn't it be nice to know maybe who visited your door when you're out, or perhaps have the security of knowing that you've got video surveillance if anytime somebody comes to your door? Well, you absolutely can. Make sure that you look for Eufy Video Lock. That's visit EUFYofficial.com/video lock to see how you can gain complete control of your door. All right, Bulldog fans, let's go ahead and admit it. Mississippi State folks and boots are awful fond of one another. Our friends at Tecovas are back to get you ready for this festival and concert season. You know it's going to be all about boots, and Tecovas is your stop for festival style. Tecovas has seasonal and limited edition offerings this spring, including men's and women's boots, apparel, hats, bags, and so much more. All Tecovas boots are made by hand in a time-honored tradition with timeless styles that are always on trend. And Tecovas has first wear comfort with little to no break-in period. It's hard to find that level of comfort paired with this level of style. Plus, their direct-to-consumer pricing keeps value on your feet and money in your pocket. Stop by your local Tecovas store, have a complimentary drink or two, and shop new styles. The smell of fresh leather and a friendly staff are always at your service. Many stores even have leather custom branding to make your boots truly personalized. And with regular live music and events coming up, there's no in-store experience quite like theirs. If you can't make it into a store, just visit Tecovas, that's TECOVAS.com. They offer free shipping on all boots, as well as free returns and exchanges, and ship right to your door. Go to Tecovas.com today and find your new favorite pair of boots. So we get into Sunday, and they've got CAGs on the mound, and CAG's been really good this year. And you just kind of felt like, hey, where does this thing sit? How does this thing come out? What kind of start are we going to get from Carson Ligon? Carson had two other early appearances against Florida. He got a no decision and a loss. But he had some success, but not against Caglione. Caglione's had a couple tanks against him. But Carson came out and was decent early, but it was one of those things that they finally kind of got to us a little bit that second time through the order. But we open up top of first with State at the plate, and Larry's hit by the pitch again. I think that's 12 times now. Mershon then strikes out looking, which is a rarity. Jordan reaches on the fielder's choice as they force Larry at second. And then Hunter Hines grounds out the first. Big high hopper to first there. Nice play by the first baseman. So it's a quiet inning for State in the first, and then Ligon comes out in his half of the first, gets a ground out, and then a fly out to center, and then they walk Caglione, kind of an intentional, unintentional walk. It's like, we're not going to give you 4. We're not going to just put you on. We're going to see if you'll get yourself out. He was very patient. But they walk him, and then the very first pitch of the next at-bat is a called strike. The second one's a called strike. So you see it's somewhat intentional. We're just kind of pitching around him. And we get shot out to ground out to third. Our top of second, State goes 1-2-3. Hyzak flies out to right. Downs goes down swinging again. And then Chance fouls out to the right fielder. Bottom of second, still a ball game here. Ligon gets Kerwin to strike out. We walk Heyman. Thomas flies out. And then we walk Garrison. And it really felt like that he was starting to lose it a little bit. Even though it's just a second inning. He gets guy to ground out to the pitcher. That's a 9-hole hitter. But it really felt like, I don't know if it was the release point, but something mechanical. It just felt like he was having trouble locating. I mean, it really was. I mean, and you say, Steve, the three guys he gets out, he's ahead, he gets advantage, counts 1-2. But it really felt like it was starting to be a little bit of a struggle. Maybe the emotions at the moment were getting to him, but even in the second, you could see he wasn't crisp. All right, top of third, Chester lines out to center. Long goes down swinging. And they initially called that an HBP, but Johnny tried to chicken wing it a little bit there. And you could see when they called it and they reviewed it, we saw the replay in the booth, it looked like it could go either way. I think the right call was made there, and then he eventually goes down swinging, and Larry strikes out looking. So good inning for Caglione. Bottom of third, they get to Ligon, but it's, again, a situation where State has some self-inflicted wounds here. You hit the first two hitters in the order. You hit Shelton, you hit Evans. Now it's runners at first and second. And so Caglione flies out to right. Runner takes third. Now there's runners on the corner. Evans then goes to second on a wild pitch, and Shelton scores. Shelnut singles to left, pushes Evans to third. We pull him and get Schulke in the game. And there's a wild pitch. It's nuts. Curlin fouls out. Heyman hit by the pitch. They call that one back. It was funny that whole thing. Let me back up a second here. Check my notes here. This is a scenario where we had the HBP. They initially ruled it a wild pitch and a run scored. Then they go back and review it, and the guy was hit by the pitch. The runner has to go back to third. So there you go. And Thomas fouls out to the catcher. But again here, yeah, it's a 1-0 ball game. We basically gift them a run because we give them two base runners, two HBPs to open the frame, and one of them comes around to score. Schulke did a really good job preventing disaster here. This could have been a big inning for Florida, and we pulled Ligon at the right time. Again, it just wasn't crisp. All right, top of four. State goes 1-2-3. Mershon grounds out. Jordan grounds out. And Hines strikes out swinging. And again, the lefty-on-lefty matchup not really being favorable. Bottom of four. Schulke really good here. Garrison grounds out to short. Guy lines out to third. And then Sheldon grounds out to short. Outside of that guy liner, not much solid contact off Schulke. All right, top of five. Really, really big moment in the ballgame. Because Cags had kind of done what he wanted. And then Connor Hyzak absolutely murders his pitch, really hit it well, double to left center. So now all of a sudden, not only do you have the tying run on, you got him in scoring position, and we elect right here. Downs have been struggling a little bit, probably the right decision here. We get the bunt down and push the runner to third. And now he can score in a multitude of ways because you've got a runner at third and less than 2 outs. And what do you know? Bryce Chance steps up and actually singles to right field. So Hyzak scores to tie the ball game. And then they get Chance picked off. 2 base running blunders from Bryce on the weekend. This can't happen, especially for a veteran guy. As Coach Paul Greer used to say, "Dadgum senior." All right, Chester flies out at center field. And again, at least we pulled even here, but it could have been a much different inning. Schulke continuing to do well here. We get Evans a strikeout swinging. We put Caglione on. And then Shelnut gets the ground bunt, the sack bunt down. And I questioned the thought process here. He's already in scoring position, and you got the 4-hole up, and he sack bunts. You know, what is it we don't know about this situation? That didn't make a lot of sense to me. It makes sense if there's no outs and you're bunting to third, but why do you do it for the second out? I thought it was an interesting decision. It was a bad decision, and then Curlin flies out to right field to end the 5th inning. All right, top of 6, State gets up here, right? Opening walked along, and then Amani Larry gets down a sack bunt, moving to second. Okay, so now we've got the go-ahead run at second base in less than 2 outs. Got to find a way to get him in. We do. Mershon singles to center. Long comes around to score. They intentionally walk Jordan to set up the lefty-lefty matchup with Hunter Hines. He gets ahead in the count 2-0, and then we pop it up. And he was really, really frustrated. He was. Hyzak then walks on 4 pitches. And then Downs walks. So Cags has walked in another run, makes it a 3-1 ball game. And they end up bringing in McNeely, who actually beat us twice this weekend. Chance lines out to right field. Hit the ball well. Nothing to show for it. But 3-1, and you think, okay, we're all right. We're all right. We've got to find a way to piece this thing together on the back end because you just felt like Cam making his 3rd appearance of the week wasn't going to be able to work as deep as maybe as you wanted. But the kid is willing to gut it out. We come out there and we walk Heyman to open the frame, and then Albert's hit by the pitch, and you start thinking, okay, here we go again. And that was the case. Garrison gets the sack bunt down, moves both runners along, and you could think we're in a bad spot here. We bring in Evan Sierra. Yost singles down the third baseline, driving a run. But then there's a fly out to left field. It wasn't deep enough to advance anybody, and then Evans lines out to right field, and the inning's over. And so you have some anxiety here, and that's 2 innings now where State has given Florida 2 base runners to open innings, and in both of those innings, at least a run is scored. You've gifted them these 2 runs. That just can't happen. All right, top of 7. State's still hanging in here. And you got to find a way to start tacking on. And I turned to our crew and I said, I don't know if 3 runs is going to be enough to win this ball game. I'd feel a lot better with a couple more runs. Chester grounds out to the catcher. It's kind of a nub right in front of the mound there, around the plate, Long grounds out to the second baseman. Larry's hit by the pitch again, and then Rashawn grounds out to second. So top of the order comes up, and you're thinking, we may not see these guys again the rest of the ball game. All right, bottom of 7, they again kind of pitch around Caglione, as you should. You walk him, and then Sierra gets Shellnut to strike out swinging. Curlin strikes out swinging, and then Heyman lines out to left. And you kind of thought, okay, maybe Sierra can bridge a gap here. We need to get some runs, though, in the top of 8. Give us a little insurance. DJ strikes out swinging, lengthy at bat there. Then Hines singles to right field. Again, I like the fact, Hunter's still hitting the baseball hard, even when it's not leaving the ballpark. Isaac flies out center field, and Downs goes down swinging again. But again, an opportunity here with the man on to do something, and we had nothing to show for it. 3-2 ball game, kind of let him hang around. Bottom of 8, Sierra has a really good inning here. We get Albert to strike out swinging. Garrison singled to the shortstop, just kind of a tough play there. Mershon did everything he could to make the play, but the throw was a little bit off target. Yostin flies out to left, and then Shelton strikes out swinging. This was a huge moment in the ball game too, because of the fact that, hey, you're going to see Cags in the ninth, but you get Shelton here, and you're thinking, okay, we may be in a situation where Cags is hitting with 1 out, right? True. If we hadn't given up the single here, Cags would have been a 3-hole hitter in the 9th inning. But huge moment to get out of that. 3-2, and you're thinking, we got to get something going. And what do you know? Bryce Chance singles to right field. And then we get a sac bunt, get him around a second. So you've got the 9-hole hitter up and the leadoff hitter up with a runner in scoring position to give you some insurance. And great teams find a way to get that run home. Now, we've done that in the past. You can never have too many runs. Long grounds out to the shortstop, the runner can't advance, and then Larry strikes out swinging. That just simply can't happen. Somebody's got to put a ball in play. You got to give us a reasonable chance there. That ball in the green grass, Bryce with good speed is going to score from second. Would have made it a 4-2 game. That said, State takes a lead to the 9th. Evan Sierra in and try to close it out. Very first pitch of the inning, we hit Evans. Now, I don't know if the moment was too big for Evan Sierra. I'm not going to judge him on that. But as soon as that happened, you and I all felt the same thing. This is bad. We actually get ahead in the count. He takes a strike. He fouls one back. We can't get him a chase on the ball up. And the next thing you know, it's a 2-run home run. And Florida walks it off for the second time in 3 games. And this is a good Florida team. I know their record doesn't indicate it. There's not a ton of length in this order. That's one thing that I continue to see. The more games that we play, the more I realize we have a little more depth in our order. And Polky and I talked a little about that yesterday. When you get through the top 4 at LSU, you get to the top 4 at A&M, you get to the top 4 or 5 at Florida, you feel like there's some outs to be had in the bottom half of that order. I don't know if that's the case for Mississippi State. Now, we got to get Downs going again. We do. Got to figure that out, and maybe that involves putting Bryce Chance back in left and letting Aaron watch a little bit and letting somebody else DH for a bit. Maybe that's what we got to do. But the reality of it is we've got some guys that can swing it down in the order. Maybe not for a ton of power, but you got some rally starters down there. And so that's the thing you think about with this series. A lot of people immediately look at the bullpen, and it's not just the bullpen. It's offensively. Late in innings, those insurance runs are huge. You score a couple more runs here, there's a little less anxiety on the pitcher. The moment, not quite as crushing. We put Nolan Stevens in a very difficult situation at A&M. We did it again in Gainesville. And both times he got hit. We're asking him to do some things that he'll be able to do for us with some consistency later, but you're asking an awful lot to trot that guy out there as a freshman. But, Sierra, not a freshman, and a lot of people say, well, why didn't we throw the lefty against Cags? The splits for lefties against Cags are not what you may expect. I know that's the conventional answer is let's just try the left-hander out there. Cags has actually hit the ball pretty well against left-handers, and so you can't just automatically assume that's the right move. And it's so easy with the gift of hindsight saying, hey, we should have pulled Sierra, but he'd been so good in the 7th and 8th. You got some guys out there, getting loose. But I really, to be honest with you, my honest opinion is I think because we had those high leverage innings against Sanford on Tuesday, it cost us the weekend. Because of the fact, think about Tyler Davis and Brooks Auger. When you brought them back on Friday, we're not fresh. And even though you don't throw a lot of pitches, when those pitches are high leverage pitches, it takes a mental toll on you. It's difficult to recover. And so those guys have to do that. But you got to think, Brooks hadn't pitched in a long time. And Tyler Davis last year had eventually become just a mop-up guy for us. And so not having to use those guys on Tuesday would have been huge because they'd have been fresh for the weekend. We cannot exhaust our bullpen in midweek games. We need guys like K.K. Clark to get in there and get it done for us. We need Pico, obviously, to pitch well for us. And I don't know where Bradley Laughlin was this weekend. I really hoped that we would see him. And, again, it's one of those deals, too, where when you get the chance to go on the road and steal a road series, you have to do it. You have to do it. We couldn't get it done. Not down on the team. We played hard. We deserved a better fate. It just didn't work out for us. All right, time for today's Top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com, C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. A lot of people out there vying for your business, but listen, here's the thing. Something as important as your mortgage deserves to be entrusted into the hands of professionals. That's exactly what Blair Chandler is. 23 years of experience in the industry, back-to-back-to-back, top 1% close ratio in the country. Blair Chandler can get you to the closing table, perhaps when other people can't. Give him a call or text today, 601-500-2344, 601-500-2344. We've had several Boneyard listeners over the years that have closed along with Blair. That's why he continues to advertise with us, right? It's not just because he loves me. It's because he gets benefits from the advertising. And you guys sometimes don't know where to turn. Keep it in the family. Blair Chandler is a Bulldog through and through. Got a place here in Starkville, season ticket holder, multiple sports. And I got, listen, simply is that aside from the equation, you want somebody that can do a professional job for you. Whether you're looking to buy a game day condo, looking to buy a home, Blair Chandler is the way to go. Again, 601-500-2344. More information available at closewithblair.com. Okay, Roy called an audible this morning. Roy Samonte is a very excitable person. He is, he's kind of jammed up, I guess, in many respects with this whole popular culture thing. Roy's much older than me, but because his children are younger than mine, he is a little more in tune with what's happening out there. So I give him credit, but so here's the text that I get from Roy this morning at 9:56. I appreciate Roy for waiting until after 9. My firm belief is, just so you guys know this, my personal policy is I don't call anybody after 10 unless they're really, really close to me. My mom taught me that as a kid. You don't call anywhere after 10 o'clock. When we were teenagers, they really didn't want you calling after 9, but we didn't have cell phones back then. But you don't call somebody's residence after 10 o'clock, and you don't text before business hours are open unless it's somebody you know, right? That's a good rule of thought. And so, Roy, thank you for waiting till 10. I hadn't been up that long after the long drive back from Gainesville. But nevertheless, here's Roy's text. Hey, Steve. Thanks so much for being a great inspiration. No, he didn't say that. Hey, I watched the new Roadhouse on Prime this weekend, so I had to go back and watch the old one with Patrick Swayze. Great, great, great film. I think Roadhouse and Tombstone are probably like the two male films of my generation that everybody knows most of the words to. Yeah, it's true. Those are my comments, not Roy. Roy says Jeff Healey was prominent in that movie. Might be a good playlist. If not Jeff, maybe a Roadhouse soundtrack playlist from both movies. So Roy, today is your lucky day. I don't know that we could put a great Jeff Healey list together that everybody would appreciate. I get it. And you say, but Steve, sometimes you put these obscure hair bands on here. It's true. It's my show. But guys, when Jeff Healey came out with that album, See the Light, Jeff Healey, of course, was blind. And Jeff played with the guitar laid in his lap, and he was a virtuoso. Of course, we lost him prematurely. No foul play there, but Jeff died far too soon. But yeah, Jeff was a huge part of Roadhouse. And so, again, I couldn't put together a top 10. I probably could, but decided, you know what, let's do a combo, Roy's second idea, of the Roadhouse playlist from 89 and from 24. Now, I haven't watched a new one yet. I plan to watch it tonight. There's some movies that you just don't play with. Like when Point Break came out, the cover, you know what I'm talking about, the remake, I didn't watch it. I was like, there's no way you could improve upon this. There's no way you could improve upon the original Point Break. And I don't know that you can improve upon the original Roadhouse. But I'm going to watch it. But I'm going to tell you this. If they start casting a bunch of clowns to play in Tombstone, there will be blood in the streets. You hear me? Blood in the streets. Because nobody is playing Doc Holliday other than Val Kilmer. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. We'll take hostages if we have to. It's not going to happen. But I'm going to watch this thing tonight, and I'll see if I can't give you guys a review. But I'm eager to watch it. I know that Conor McGregor is in it and things like that. Jake Gyllenhaal. And it's so funny. Jake Gyllenhaal's career has had such an incredible arc. My favorite Jake Gyllenhaal movie, and again, it kind of goes along with all this testosterone. Yeah, it's Prisoners with Hugh Jackman. Love that movie. My girls have commented about that many times. They talk about dads, like something ever happened, like to one of them. Audrey, my oldest daughter, said, if anything ever happened to one of us, I know Daddy would be just like Hugh Jackman in Prisoners. And she's exactly right. As a matter of fact, Hugh Jackman's performance in that will feel like a high school homecoming pep rally compared to what I would do to anybody that hurt my children. Period. It's true. It's true. I have some violent tendencies. I don't always act on them, but I do have some violent tendencies. And if somebody hurt one of my children, I could hurt them. And I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. Maybe I'm a sociopath. Who knows? But I absolutely, if somebody hurt my family or somebody that I loved, I could absolutely get revenge on that person and not feel bad about it because I've got the record to prove that. Now, let's do our top 10 list here. Top 10 Roadhouse songs from 89 and 2024. Sadly, a lot of those songs from 89 not available on the streaming platforms, including a couple of songs offered by Patrick Swayze. Immediately, you're thinking she's like the wind. That was from Dirty Dancing. And yes, I watched that too. Patrick Swayze, another guy going far too soon. Okay, so here we go. Combo list, top 10 songs from the Roadhouse soundtracks. Number 10, not really my thing, but I like the track more than the vocal delivery. From the new version of Roadhouse, it's Messy by Matt Allen and Rwanga. I don't know either of those artists, but I think the track is rather interesting. Okay, number 9, you know my feelings about covers. I love covers. I do. When they're well done. This one's just okay. But I'm going to throw them a bone because I think it actually helps Metallica. Enter Sandman. Again, another one of those songs that most people don't want mess with, but everybody covers. It's by Rina Sawamaya. Is that right? I don't know. It's Rina Sawayama. That's what it is. And so it's a female vocalist over Metallica. They do some breaks in there to kind of make it feel a little more dancey. It's heavy, but it's not true to the original, but it is an interesting track. Now, one of the ones that kind of stood out to me, and you young bucks may know this artist, but it's a song called Pink Venom from Blackpink. I kind of like it. It's a little danceable. It's got a vibe to it. I kind of dig it. Then number 7, a song that's originally released way back in 2004, 20 years ago, by a guy from South Louisiana, C.C. Adcock. I absolutely love this song. I've known this song, and when I saw it was on the new soundtrack, I said it's going on our list. It's Stealin' All Day from C.C. Adcock. Man, this is so good. It's so good. It doesn't have an edge to it. It's truly kind of Americana. It's truly kind of South Louisiana-ish, but it doesn't have like the, I don't know if I would say the Bro Bridge feel to it. You know, that's my feeling. It's not a Zydeco song, but it is very, maybe typical of South Louisiana in a different way. I really, 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 really like it. Really do. All right, number 6, one that does have a little bit of a Zydeco feel. It was in the original motion picture soundtrack. Is Rad Gumbo from Little Feat. We could probably do a top 10 Little Feat list. That's dating us a little bit. Little Feat goes back a bit. But Little Feat's Rad Gumbo, and again, that's in the original one. And you'll recognize it when you hear it. Number 5, also from the original motion picture soundtrack of the 1989 Roadhouse classic. It's Otis Redding's These Arms of Mine. And that's like the prelude to the first love scene, right, between Patrick Swayze and The Good Doctor. Yeah. Amazing movie, and very fitting song for that moment. Really good. All right, number 4. It's Toby Keith. And God bless Toby Keith's family. Another one that's gone too soon. We're going with I Love This Bar. That's from the 2024 soundtrack. Toby Keith wasn't even really a real thing back then, musically, in 89. But yeah, Toby Keith's I Love This Bar. Number 4. Because we're all big fans of the Double Deuce. Or as Sam Elliott called it, the Double Douche. Man, Sam Elliott was so great. So great. Wade Garrett, what a great character. It's phenomenal, in the words of Ben Howland. All right, number 3. And I like this one probably more than many of you may. But I'm a Post Malone fan. I like Post Malone. I do. And I like the fact that he's willing to kind of branch out and not be limited by one genre. From the new motion picture soundtrack, it's Texas Tea. Number 3 on your list today. Post Malone's Texas Tea. I don't know that you would expect that. Now, our number 2 and number 1 song, written by the same artist, and we praised him before the list started. It's Jeff Healey. And Jeff, again, such a phenomenal talent, man. Absolutely amazing. Not just as a guitarist, not just the novelty of seeing a guy play the guitar that way, but the fact that he pulls it off. You would never know that he was somewhat impaired by the way he plays the guitar. And that's kind of how life works, right? When we have some limitations in other ways, we begin to kind of show some sunlight in others. And Jeff Healey, just an absolutely incredible blues man. Absolutely love everything he's done. It's good travel music too. It really is. So number 2 and number 1, both from the 89 soundtrack, written and performed by the great Jeff Healey. No, it's not Angel Eyes. That wasn't on the soundtrack. But number 2 is I'm Tore Down, which is what they played the closing credits, if I remember correctly. I'm Tore Down. Great, 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 great song. And so much of that. Jeff Healey is such a big part of the original Roadhouse. But number 1, it's When the Night Comes Falling from the Sky from Jeff Healey. That's your number 1 track today. And we've got some ideas, too. I want to share with you next week. We're going to do things a little bit differently. So we're going to turn off our submissions because we get a lot of submissions that are repeats. Next week, fresh ideas. We may actually let this run for 2 weeks. We'll see. But next week, we're going to do top rock songs by decade. And what I mean by that is, like, we'll start, and like I've already told Roy, and he's already so giddy. He just texted me, Steve, I just want to thank you again for being the greatest moment in my life, greatest person in my life. No, he didn't say that. And I fumbled it anyway. He goes, I like the idea, but since the 80s were the best, let's start there. Well, we're not going to start there. We're going to end there probably next week. So what I'm thinking is on Monday, we'll do top rock songs from the 1960s. And Wednesday, we'll go to 70s, and then we'll do 80s. And then we'll come back the next week and do 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking today. I may call an audible at some point. Something may happen. I may get inspiration to do something else. But We're going to take a trip down memory lane. And I know what's going to happen. And here's what we're going to do. At some point after this little series is over, we'll do some country too. We'll do some country. I know many of you want that. And we'll probably mix in some rap too, some R&B. We'll do that too. We probably won't run, 60 years. But we'll do some of that. Because I want this to be an equal opportunity show. I know you country music listeners, feel kind of downtrodden and oppressed, many of you. But I want to share with you this. And maybe it's because I'm getting old. But for decades, we all worked really hard together as a people to stamp out the spread of country western music. We did. That's why country music changed. It's because they wanted to have more of an edge, right? They wanted a little more of a marketable thing. Because I'm just going to say it for what it is. And some of you guys won't like it, and that's okay. Guys, the reason country music didn't take off before Garth Brooks, it's true, is that so many of the guys playing country music, and again, it's going to hurt some feelings, is they played country because they couldn't play rock. It's true. It's true. Yeah, there's some guys out there that were inspired and maybe came up in the Waylon Jennings era and said, this is who I am, what I'm about, and I'm going to be true to that, and I respect that. But there are a lot of musicians, because they weren't good enough to play rock, they played country, because the chord structure is completely different. A lot less changes, and there's some guys out there nowadays that can really get it done. They can't. Don't get me wrong. But the musicianship of country music for a long time was just very average. I mean, you go back and listen to even some of those classics today, and you begin to realize that many of those singers were just like somebody you'd hear, down at Dave's. It's true. It's true. You won't admit it, but it's true. But things have changed. The genre has really kind of come of age. And I think a lot of it's got to do with American Idol and Carrie Underwood. Just my personal opinion. It's made it more marketable. More talented people are singing country music. And I know that I'm going to get a bunch of messages, and Steve, you're wrong about this. No, I'm not. You're welcome to be wrong yourself. But country music is bigger today than it ever has been. And again, it's got more of a rock element in it. Why do you think Brantley Gilbert and Harding and people like that are so successful? There's a lot of rock influence in what they do. It's true. It's true. So you can put your bedazzled jeans on and go out there and get on your, your roach killers and do some boot scooting. And I'm sure there's some nostalgia involved in all that stuff, but the version of country music we're hearing today is better than at any point in the existence of the human species. It's true. I can't say the same for rock music, though. I can't. I think our heyday may have come and gone for a while, and things are changing a little bit. But and I can't say the same thing for rap. That's true, too. You may not want to admit it around your friends, but when you get up in the morning and you go look in that mirror, you begin to realize there is no Tupac, there is no Biggie Smalls these days, there is no Eazy-E, Dr. Dre's retired. It's a much different time. But country music, completely different. It's really on the ascension. It is. So thanks as always for your support of the Top 10 list. If you have an idea for the Top 10 list, reach out and let us know. We'll get you in the queue. And you never know, we may just do your list, and we'll even give you credit for the suggestion. Hit up Roy on Twitter, now known as X, which is still weird for me. I still tweet. I don't post on X. But all that understood, you can hit Roy up on Twitter at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC 67. You can find our great list also on Spotify under that same handle. Let me encourage you to follow Roy on Twitter. It's true. He's not going to post pictures of his food or like his stuffed animals, even though he has a bunch of those. He will not post pictures of them. That's only reserved for his Instagram. But you can follow him on Twitter. There'll be some Mississippi State stuff, perhaps our great list. It's worthy of your attention. And he's not going to be one of these intrusive follows. It's always spamming your timeline with all kind of nonsense. So follow Roy on Twitter. And you never know, he may DM you and thank you for being a great inspiration in his life. All right. Next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. I have for a long, long time. They've been serving this fan base for a long, long time. No better selection. A lot of times, people get into the industry and they begin to coast a little bit, and all of a sudden a new competitor comes along and they're they begin to do some things maybe the old school didn't. Well, that's not the case at Campus Bookmart. They're continuing to evolve and innovate. Ms. Kathy Brown does such an amazing job buying Mississippi State merchandise for your home, for your office, your autos, your pets, whatever you're looking for with Mississippi State's logo on it, you can find it at Campus Bookmart. And if they don't have it, chances are Kathy Brown can get it for you. Listen, look no further and always support a Starkville business first. You love Mississippi State, even if you don't live here, right? You visit here and you think, man, I want these institutions to be there for years and years and years. We got to support them. And Campus Bookmart just doing a fantastic job. They're worthy of your business. So next time you're in town, go by and see their smiling faces. If you can't make it to town, perhaps you live in a mission field, you can hit them up on campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. It's BSR. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. Again, that's campusbookmart.net. Go there instead of going to Amazon or eBay or wherever you go. Campusbookmart.net, promo code BSR. All right, let's take a quick look back at the baseball weekend that was. We'll go back to Thursday night just because I don't expect you guys to retain everything from Saturday's show, but there were a handful of games on Thursday night. Arkansas takes down LSU in game one of that series 7-4. The hits were pretty equal there, 19 hits between the two teams. It was a clean game with no errors, but Arkansas living up to expectations. LSU not. Bit of a barn burner of a game out in College Station is A&M takes game one from Auburn 9-7. And that's with A&M committing a couple of errors in the ball game. But kind of a wild game. But A&M really kind of puts it away there in the sixth. The Auburn tags on a run there in the seventh to make it a little more respectable. But another loss for sure. Vanderbilt and Missouri. Vanderbilt's still struggling to score runs. They're pitching it pretty well, but they're struggling to score runs. It's gonna be interesting to see how the season unfolds for them. A 3-1 victory in game one over Missouri, who is performing at expectations. And then Alabama, a nail-biter of a game in Tuscaloosa, 4-3 winners over South Carolina. Big win for the Crimson Tide. They may be better than I think. I still think they're still fool's gold. I think that. All right, we get into Friday, and then everybody's playing on Friday. Georgia absolutely annihilates Tennessee in Knoxville. And mercy rules those guys in 7 innings, 16-2. And what's crazy, Tennessee still had 10 hits in the ballgame. We got a couple of runs to show for it. But Georgia swinging a pretty hot bat these days. Not pitching it exceptionally well, but they're swinging the bats. And, of course, Florida walked off Mississippi State. The Friday game between A&M and Auburn, again, another kind of exciting game. The big inning, though, comes in the sixth for A&M as they win it 12-8. 28 hits combined in the ballgame. Auburn pitching staff not living up to expectations for sure. Alabama and South Carolina get together, and Alabama takes the series 13-6 here with the Friday win. And kind of an anomaly. Alabama 13 runs on 13 hits. South Carolina 6 runs on, you guessed it, 6 hits. Yeah, interesting how that all works. But it was a game until the 8th. It was tied at 6 in the 8th, and then a complete meltdown by the South Carolina bullpen. They give up 7 in the frame. Vanderbilt takes the series again over Missouri as expected, but again, they're just not scoring. It's a 4-0 game. Missouri, of course, the worst team in the league from a statistical standpoint and a record standpoint. Vanderbilt should be getting fat, especially at home. They only allow one hit in the ball game, but they only score 4 runs. So Vandy takes that series on Friday. Kentucky and Ole Miss. I'm going to be nice here, but Kentucky wasn't expected to be as good this year as they have been. Ole Miss is probably, before this weekend, had probably played a little bit above expectations, to be fair. But Nick Mingione, I texted with him a couple times this weekend, offered him some words of encouragement. Nick is my friend. And, of course, the enemy of my friend is my friend. So twofold, Nick Mingione, my friend. Big Friday night win for them. They go into Oxford and win 5-3. Got out ahead in the ballgame 7-5, but Ole Miss kind of countered that, committing 3 errors in the ballgame. So nice opening game of the series. And then LSU, Arkansas. And again, a tight ball game here. LSU is going to get it figured out. And they're going to play a lot of games at home. Of course, they've had to play here. They've had to play at Baum, two of the most difficult places to play in the country. But they lose the Friday game 4-3. Goes 10 innings, and Arkansas walks it off in the 10th. We know a little bit about that. But, yeah, competitive game for sure. All right, we get into Saturday's numbers. And, again, you know, some of these series have already been decided. South Carolina escapes and nearly blows it. But they avoid the sweep on Saturday by winning 9-8. Guys, Alabama would 4 in the ninth. You take a 9-4 lead into the ninth, and you have to sweat this thing out. But they do. They hang on. Cole Messina, pretty good ball game there for the Gamecocks. Vanderbilt gets the sweep over Missouri, and again, they're not scoring. They scored 3 runs in the first and then post 8 zeros in a 3-1 ball game. And Missouri kind of aided their own demise with a couple of errors in that ball game. But again, Vanderbilt not really hitting the baseball well. I'm beginning to feel a little more optimistic about that series. Of course, it's a long time off, but it's something you think about. Kentucky absolutely embarrasses Ole Miss pitching. 17-9 is your final on Saturday. And they kind of went to work early, but it was a game in the middle innings. And the next thing you know, South Carolina pulls away, and then they actually tack on 4 in the ninth. Of course, Bianco's just trying to save some arms, just get out of there, have somebody mop up. It doesn't matter the margin of victory. You're just trying to save an arm for Sunday. But Kentucky, 17-9 winners over Ole Miss, and this Ole Miss pitching staff has been battered at times this year. Arkansas completes the sweep of LSU. Of course, Tommy White hit a home run foul. I don't know if there was enough on the camera angle to overturn it. Would have been a 3-run shot to give LSU the lead in the ninth. They don't get it. They lose 7-5. Matter of fact, White lines into a game-ending double play. And so LSU now 2-7 in Southeastern Conference play in Arkansas, leading the SEC right now. They're tied. We'll get to that momentarily. Tennessee bounces back really strong on Saturday and scores 16 runs. Of course, they got embarrassed on Friday, but it's a 16-11 game. Georgia's scoring a lot, just they can't get anybody out. That's been the issue with Georgia, and Wes Johnson will get that figured out there. But Tennessee came out ready to roll, and it's crazy. Georgia scores 7 in the third inning to push ahead 7-4, but then next thing you know, the rest of the ball game is all Tennessee. They score 6 in the fifth, 6 in the seventh, and cruise to a 16-11 victory, 29 hits in the ball game. Tennessee pitching, not exactly what you'd expect. We've already discussed the Mississippi State, Florida Saturday result, 12-2. And then Texas A&M completes the sweep over Auburn. And again, Auburn, such a tough luck team, man. They keep losing so many of these one-run games. That was the case in this one. It goes 12 innings, and Texas A&M walks it off. 33 hits in the ballgame. It's nuts, man. 33 hits in the ballgame. Again, the Auburn pitching staff just not living up to expectations. So we go into Sunday. I already discussed the State-Florida game. Georgia and Tennessee. Completely different ball game on Sunday. Tennessee wins 7-0. Georgia shut out. Only 6 hits in the ball game. Rather significant. And I'm not exactly sure if they didn't. The SEC Network site is terrible. I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know who can make a change for us. But it is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. First world problems here. But Kentucky completes the sweep of Ole Miss. I listened to some of that game on the way back from Gainesville yesterday. And was not good. Not good at all. And it's so easy to kind of get hemmed up in what we're doing. But you have to always kind of be mindful of what is happening with future opponents. But Kentucky mercy rules Ole Miss 15-1 in 7 innings. And you start doing the math on this, guys. Kentucky just gets 5 on Friday. And then, so you add 17 to Saturday, it's 22. 37 runs allowed for Ole Miss. Pitching rough. And they're going to be at Memphis on Tuesday. We'll get to that shortly. But kind of taking a quick look at the SEC standings. And as I've shared with you guys, We're about where we expected to be. We, of course, and like all of you, I'm thinking, but we should be further along. Yes, we should. But the schedule begins to even up for us a little bit here. But Kentucky leading the SEC East with an 8-1 record. They're 24-4 overall. Let that sink in for a second. Vanderbilt's 23-6, but just 6-3 in the league. Of course, Vanderbilt was swept earlier this year by South Carolina, and they have swept the two series since then. Florida tied with them for second at 6-3. Tennessee at 5-4. South Carolina 5-4. South Carolina doesn't have any pitching. I'm just telling you now. Georgia's 4-5, Missouri 1-8, and I think it's pretty safe to say at this point Missouri will not make it to Hoover. They're 10-18 overall. It's going to take some absolutely crazy turn of events for them. But you start thinking, who else is in jeopardy of not making Hoover? Well, let's get to that. Probably going to be a team from the West. Arkansas leads the West and is tied for the overall lead with Kentucky with 8-1. A&M now 6-3, and I'll be honest with you, after the three teams that we have played, I think A&M is the best. Because of the fact they've got a couple of guys that can really shove on weekends. Now, Florida does too, and neither of these teams have a lot of length in this order. And we played both places. A&M, the atmosphere at A&M is a little more competitive, shall we say. And I never really felt, yes, Morris Hodges had something to do with it, but that Sunday strike zone, we never really competed in that Sunday game at A&M. We did against Florida. I think A&M is better than both LSU and Florida. I know Florida took the series, but I think when you look at the scope of the entire season, I think A&M is going to have a chance to do some pretty cool things. I don't think they get to Omaha, but I think they're a team, obviously, that will win a lot of games and probably host a regional. Alabama now 4-5, tied with Mississippi State, and just below us is Ole Miss at 3-6, LSU 2-7, Auburn 1-8. And if you're Auburn, it might be time to panic a little bit. Now, I say that because I think that's the fair thing to say. You're 1-8, and we've talked about this several times. Typically, SEC teams that win 14 games make the NCAA tournament. It's not a hard and fast rule. There are some outliers. But by and large, you get to 14, and certainly if you get to 15, you make it. You get to 16, yeah, for sure. 17, you're hosted or in the conversation. But guys, with 21 games left to play, Auburn would have to win 13 of those 21. So they would have to lose as many games as they've lost so far or less to make the tournament. And when you look at how this pitching staff's getting knocked around a little bit, there doesn't seem to be a lot of optimism. And a lot of people thought this Auburn lineup was going to be very offensive. I didn't really see it. I know Ike Irish is really good. But it's surprising to me that Auburn is not pitching it better. Now, they have played 6 games on the road and lost all 6 of them. That's part of it. They're going to be a little bit tougher in their ballpark. But all of a sudden, you start looking at all this and looking at the complexion of our schedule, and you begin to realize, again, it's there for the taking for Mississippi State. Let's take a quick look at some quick stat lines just to kind of let you guys know where we are with certain things, because I know you get so caught up in it's so easy to forget about what's happening kind of game within the game. And we forget too. Real quickly before we get to that, I just want to go back and point something out to you. I just want to point this out to you. I kind of touched on this earlier in the show. Do you remember what it was like after the first 3 games, first 3 series last year? And it wasn't just the record. It was just the way and manner in which we were losing games. So remember, we get swept on the road at Kentucky, and we get 10-run ruled in that Sunday game. Guys, we went up there and lost a 6-5 ball game on Friday night, and then we got beat 12-3 and then 17-3. It was a miserable existence. We come home, play Vanderbilt. We say, well, we'll blame it on the cold weather. Guys, Vandy beats us 26-3, 18-5, and then 11-7. And so you're 0-6 right out of the gate. South Carolina comes in. They beat us on Thursday 6-4 in a game that we felt like we should have won. We finally break through and win an SEC game and 10-run rule number 9 South Carolina, and then blow it again on Sunday. So you saw some signs at times. You think, well, maybe. But we were looking at, guess we were 1-8. 1-8, and the one win, of course, was a 10-run ruling of South Carolina. Well, then all of a sudden, you find some things after those first 3 weekends, and you take 2 or 3 from Alabama. You take 2 or 3 from Ole Miss. You start thinking, hey, we're in the mix here. You go to Auburn, you should have swept a series. You only get 1. But you're thinking, okay, maybe we figured some things out. Then we go to Knoxville and get rocked. But even with that, we were competitive in those ball games. And so I just say that because of the fact we're much farther ahead than we were last year, right? Not just in the records, but overall quality of play. But once we get through this little stretch here, there should be a chance for us to make a run and stack up some games. And I'll be surprised if we don't. Again, I'm like you guys. I'm not as confident as I was in 2021. I sat here on the same microphone in 2021 and told you guys, this team's getting to Omaha, and if we get the right matchups, we're winning it. Said it then. I'm not really that confident right now. And I'll feel better once we get everybody back to 100%. Nate Dome, Pico Cohn, Burley Lofton. I'll feel so much better when we have all the horses pulling. But when you start thinking about what's next for State, about us putting together a run here, again, 3 consecutive top 10 opponents to open our SEC slate. And we knew it was going to be brutal, and we've come out the other side of it with 4 wins. So Georgia comes in this week, fresh off losing 2 out of 3 to Tennessee. Now, we're going to have to pitch it well. Tennessee pitching is not as good as it has been, but that Georgia offense is decidedly better than it was last year. But we should take the series. Then we go to Oxford, where we have had a tremendous amount of success in recent years. And so you got to feel like you're going to win that series. And then Auburn comes in. Last place Auburn comes in. So let's say you got a chance to stack up 3 consecutive SEC series wins, and we certainly do. I think everybody would say, you know what, we should win those. And probably the iciest of the bunch is the Georgia group coming in. But all of a sudden, you win those 3, and you tack on 6 more wins. That gives you 10 SEC weekends. 10 SEC wins in 6 weekends. And then you start working through there. You just got to pick up 4 or 5 along the rest of the way, and you're back in the tournament. Now, I caution my own self sometimes, and I think, hey, where are we as a program when that's what we're rooting for? We're just rooting to make the tournament. Well, I've been the guy that always expects Mississippi State to win in baseball. I do. I've always expected. I love the feeling of knowing that every time we go out to the ballpark, we've got a really good chance of winning. We expect to win. But everybody has been a little shell-shocked from the last 2 years. But when I think about this team, and I think the confidence that this team has right now, and if you could have seen them all getting on the bus yesterday, you can tell what it meant to those kids. There is nobody mailing this thing in, period. But I want to get back to the point where we don't hope to win, we expect to win, because that's what Mississippi State is built on, the expectation of winning. And I expect to win these next 3 series, and then we'll see how things look when we get ready to go to Nashville here in 4 weeks. But right now, it's about Central Arkansas. We're going to spend a little time previewing Central Arkansas. And we'll have Jeff Levy later this week. We'll have football availability Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And so we'll have some players tomorrow. Of course, we make that content free for you over at genespage.com. So if you want to read or see what's going on, you can get it for free. We make it free. We don't charge everybody for everything. But when we go on the road and cover baseball, and we're the only ones there, a lot of that stuff we're going to make VIP. There has to be something there when we have exclusive content. So we don't make everything free. We're not the healthstate.com website. But I share that with you because there is a grit within this team, and there is an edge within this team where there is the expectation to win, whereas the last 2 seasons, I haven't seen that as much, especially last year. 2022, you still had the remnants, right? You still had Landon Sims still around, even though we get an SEC play and he was injured. You still had Logan Tanner around. You had Cameron James. You had Luke Hancock. You had some of that. But you didn't have maybe that alpha dog. You didn't have the Johnny Long type guy that's like, you know what, hey, I don't care who you are, where you're from. We're Mississippi State. I'd venture to say Johnny Long, one of the best portal recruits we've gotten over the years. And we didn't expect that. We thought he'd just come in here and be a backup. Little did we know he's going to come in here and just kind of sit the team down and say, guys, it's all about us. Let's go get it done. But yeah, there is an edge with this team. So again, I'm giving you my take right now. I expect to win these next 3 series. And I wouldn't rule out a sweep or 2 along the way. And if you're able to do that, then all of a sudden you're playing the last month of the season with an opportunity to host a regional right here at Dudy Noble Field. All right, so let's take a quick look at kind of how we stack up right now. Mississippi State currently 6th in the SEC in hitting. Had a good weekend at times. The clutch hitting really wasn't there, but Tennessee leads the league at a 332 average as a team. Alabama 326, Georgia 321, A&M 302, Vanderbilt 300, Mississippi State right there at 294. Ahead of LSU, ahead of Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Florida, and Missouri. The average team batting average in this league is 292. State's above average. So again, State in the top half of the league in hitting there. Looking at earned run average, we're right there at 4.17 right now. And again, that's right there in the meaty part of the curve. Arkansas leads the SEC at 2.67, A&M 3.27. And again, we've seen their left-handers up close and personal. They're good. Vanderbilt at 361. Kentucky, that's been really the strength of this Kentucky team. You look at those gaudy scores, and they're getting hit a lot. They're stealing bases a lot. They're moving runners, but they're pitching it well. 369. I don't think anybody expected that. Tennessee at 373. South Carolina 401. Then there's Mississippi State at 417. 417. And of the teams that are ranked in the top half of this league in ERA, Mississippi State's the only one that doesn't have 20 wins. LSU behind Mississippi State and Alabama, Auburn, Missouri, Georgia, Ole Miss, Florida. And again, we kind of taxed the Florida bullpen a little bit, but couldn't break through in a couple ball games. But Ole Miss now 13th in the league in ERA after a very difficult weekend against Kentucky. But the number 12 team in ERA is headed to Stark Vegas this weekend. We got to make that mean something. Looking, a few other things before we kind of move on here, and we'll spend some time talking about UCA here. But Mississippi State now 5th in the SEC in hits. And again, we get so caught up in the big maroon bubble sometimes, we don't think about how we look compared to our contemporaries. Runs scored, State is 7th. Runs batted in, State is 7th. Home runs, we're finally off the bottom. We're 11th. Yeah, with 33. Now, Georgia's hit 82. Yeah, it's true. They are definitely a launch angle type team. We're going to have to work hard to keep them in the ballpark. Tennessee's hit 73. And then things get a little more modest. But, Georgia is a home run hitting squad for sure. For sure. Total bases this year, State's 9th. Our slugging percentage would be higher if we hit more home runs. But Mississippi State currently leads the Southeastern Conference in at-bats and plate appearances. Isn't that interesting? It's an interesting deal there. Of course, you had an extra inning game here or there. We played a few more road games than some other teams have. But it's interesting. It really is. Strikeouts. You never want to be in the top half of the league in this way as a hitter. Mississippi State is 9th. So we're in the bottom half of the league here in strikeouts. And a lot of times, our fans think, well, we need to hit the ball more. Yeah, we do. We do. You know who has the fewest number of strikeouts? Is Arkansas. They're putting the ball in play. Georgia, 12th in the league in strikeouts by hitters. Yeah. It's all very interesting. Let's see here. Grounded into double plays. We really haven't grounded into that many. We did 13. But in the bottom half of the league, again. And that's a good thing when you're considering those type of statistics. But it's interesting. A lot of people message me. I'm sorry. But when we get over to the pitching element of it, we talked about our average, but opposing batting average, that's always significant. I think we'd all agree with that. Opposing batting average, because we had the year last year, we had so many walks and hit by pitches, and then when we didn't nibble, we got hit. Mississippi State's 6th in opposing batting average. Opponents are only hitting 231 against Bulldog pitchers. Ahead of us is Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Texas A&M. Behind us is LSU, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Auburn. So again, Georgia pitching hasn't been great. Could be some weird scores this weekend. And it's interesting, too, kind of an anomaly in the statistics, I guess, because Georgia hadn't played many ninth innings. Georgia has the fewest number of innings pitched, and I think they played less games than us. We had the most. We have pitched the most innings of anybody in the Southeastern Conference. We've also struck out the fourth highest number of hitters with 307. LSU is first, Arkansas and A&M second and third. And then there's us. We struck out more than Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, Florida, South Carolina. You can kind of do the rest. Strikeout looking, we're fourth with 91. Rather interesting. Runners picked off, Mississippi State still leads the SEC by a wide margin with 10 runners picked off. 10. But I just want to run those down, some team numbers there, just because I think it's important to know. And defensively, too, State now third in the Southeastern Conference, just 1/100th of a point from first. Florida leads the SEC. They're tied with actually Texas A&M at a 9.84 fielding percentage. Mississippi State 9.83. Defense was a problem for us last year. And so I share those things. It's important to understand. We continue to hear what's the same thing as last year. No, it absolutely is not. We're defending better. We're pitching better. Our batting average against us better. And it's going to pay off. And I think we've really got to get fat this next month and put ourselves in a position to play for some important things in the month of May. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Go right now, well, not right now, after the show is over, and Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse. And their Facebook page will auto-populate for you, and you'll be able to peruse the pictures of the fine amenities that are available to you and your large group when you come to Starkville next time. Whether you're bringing a work group for a midweek event, maybe you're working on campus or throughout the Golden Triangle, or maybe you just want to have a bit of a sabbatical and just kind of get everybody together under one roof and talk through some things, this is a good place to do it. Maybe you're coming for a ball game weekend, and those weekends, as you could imagine, are in demand. Plan ahead. Now, when you Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, you're going to have some options to book. And listen, I'm not here to tell you which is the way to go. You can book through VRBO, you can book through Airbnb, but if you book through the Evolve website, I can save you 10%. That's BSR10. Your promo code gets you 10% off your stay. Just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. Very, very quiet out there. It's a bit of a retreat, if you will. That great wet bar, 5 bedrooms, 2 bath, that great back porch area, the fire pit out there. Plenty of places to just kind of sit and chill and relax a little bit. What's better than that? And Mom, wouldn't it be great to have all the kids and all the grandkids under one roof so you can make those cinnamon rolls for breakfast? Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Book your next large group. Whether it be a staycation in town, whether it be a guy's weekend, a girl's weekend, couple's weekend, makes no difference to us. The Stark Vegas Clubhouse can accommodate you. And again, book through the Evolve website, promo code BSR10. Saving money just by listening to this show. All right, let's take some time now, take a quick look at Central Arkansas. Looked at them briefly this morning. They are 12-15 on the year. But the Bears had some pretty interesting decisions early in the year, and I'll write a full preview tomorrow for those of you that frequent Gene's page. We'll make that free because we want you guys to be the most well-informed Bulldog fans in the fan base. But they opened up losing to VMI 3-1, and then, guys, they're down in Baton Rouge, right? Guys, they hold that vaunted LSU offense at 2 runs and lose 2-0. They bounce back and win a close one with VMI 4-3, and then lose to LSU 4-3. So, guys, 3 very low-scoring games. They go 1-3, but they're competitive in all of them. Offensive with maybe not where they expected to be, and even their win comes in 11 innings. So it really kind of taxes the pitching staff. The next week they go to Memphis. They lose 14-4. They bring Southern Illinois into Bear Stadium and sweep the series 9-8, 9-8, 13-12. These guys are used to playing in close games. They travel to Jonesboro, Arkansas and take on the Fighting Tommy Raffos and beat them 8-4. They didn't bring Charlton State in for a 4-game series. They split that 2 games apiece. But again, the games are all very competitive, very low scoring. The most runs scored actually happened in game 1, 8-3. They win that one, and they win 5-3, lose 4-6, and lose 1-5. They go to Arkansas, midweek game, and they win 9-7. Now, of course, that's kind of like a Super Bowl for them, right? All those kids feel like, hey, I'm good enough to play in Fayetteville too. And Coach Van Hoorden didn't give me the chance. I'm going to go show him because I'm going to be in the transfer portal next year. But 9-7 is your final from Fayetteville. Missouri State then comes into Bear Stadium and sweeps all 3 games. Missouri State wins 4-2, 6-8, 7-6. Again, all these games very competitive, but not a lot of offensive numbers. Eastern Kentucky goes into Bear Stadium again. That's an Atlantic Sun matchup, the first weekend of conference play. UCA wins the first game 8-7 and loses 10-3 and 5-3. Midweek game at Louisiana Monroe, they take that game 11-4. That's their high of offensive output. Another Atlantic Sun series. They go to North Florida and take 2 out of 3. But again, a consistent theme here. Pretty good pitching, not much offense. They lose 3-1, win 9-6, and win 2-0 down in Jacksonville. Speaking of Jacksonville, that's where they were this past weekend. Well, that's incorrect. They played the Dolphins of Jacksonville in Bear Stadium this weekend and lose 2 out of 3. They lose 6-5 on Friday, get mercy ruled on Saturday, or excuse me, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal. They get beat 15-1 in Game 2 and then win Game 3 11-10. So again, some interesting results here, but only a dozen wins so far. Another 4-5 in conference, much like we are. Away from their place, actually played pretty well. 4-5 in true road games and 1-1 in neutral side games. So 5-6 overall away from Bear Stadium. It's interesting. It is. These guys are not a bad team. And all it takes sometimes is, for things to get a little funky is for you to get a bad start and for somebody else to get a great start and you're chasing a game. But looking at the numbers here, I've never seen a young man with this last name in my life. Seldom Ridge is hitting .356. He's played in 24 games. Got 16 hits to show for himself. But, they're a team that kind of, tries to stack things together. Not a big power number group here. Only have 2 hitters hitting above 300. Drew Sturgeon is the other. Sturgeon with an on-base percentage of .456 to lead the team. He did 99 at-bats, 34 hits. He's hit 5 home runs. He is their biggest power threat. He got 26 RBIs. He's been walked 14 times as well. He has 6 stolen bases and 2 caught stealing. They do try to run the bases a little bit, but it's 32 of 44. So we've got to be mindful of that. We've got to do a good job holding runners. But as a team, they've only hit 19 home runs. So the ball really doesn't carry that much for them. They've allowed 33 home runs, but just 19 home runs, which is a pretty small number considering they played 31 games. From a pitching standpoint, as a staff, ERA is 5.87, 27 appearances, obviously. They do have 5 saves, and that's kind of been a by-committee approach. But allowed 257 hits and 240 and 2/3 of an inning. Allowed 169 runs, 157 of those are earned. They will walk you, however. It's basically a 2-to-1 ratio, 238 strikeouts to 118 walks. And opponents are hitting .276 against them. They have allowed 33 home runs on the year. And again, we got to be able to jump on midweek pitching. What's interesting, too, kind of looking at the numbers here, the opponents have really jumped on them the first time through the order. And then the second time through the order, they've been able to gain some separation. There hasn't been a ton of innings you look at and say, you know what, these guys have been pretty good. The 5th and 6th, the fewest number of runs scored against them. But 20 in the first, that's a pretty big number there. 20 in the first, 37 in the third, which is typically the second time through the order, and 22 in the fourth. So this should be a game, hopefully, that we can get some separation in early because we can ill afford to have to expend some energy, especially with Georgia coming to town, a team that really, really swings it well. And, of course, Justin Parker will have a good game plan. We know that. We just got to go out there and execute. But defensively, this team, 974 is the fielding percentage. Not great, not poor. but 974. But they've been gifted some bases at times too. But that's kind of a quick rundown of what we expect from Central Arkansas. We do expect to go win the ball game because we are Mississippi State, but we're not going to be able to just show up and put the M over S caps on and people will kneel at our spikes. We got to go out there and play baseball. But I'm eager to see who they start. Hopefully we'll find out tonight. I'll have that preview up for you, and you guys can get excited about that. It's good to be home, and we will be home for a little while here, but it'll be nice. Hopefully we'll have the students now back in town after the Easter break, and so hopefully we'll have a good time. You guys turn out and be a part of that. It's been a while since many of you have seen the Diamond Dogs in person, and if you can't make it Tuesday, we certainly hope that you'll make it this weekend. We're going to need a raucous environment. I say that all the time, and it's important to drive that point home. We have one of the greatest home field advantages in all of college baseball, and you're the reason why. It's not just because of the facility. It's because you guys remain so engaged in the game, and we certainly need you here this weekend. State really needs to win this series this weekend. We really, really need to win this one to stay on schedule. We don't need to be in a situation where we have a bad weekend and start having to chase, and then still got 3 more road series to play. Baseball season will be over before you know it. And these are the kinds of weekends that it makes last weekend hurt all the more because you feel like, hey, if we'd won last weekend, we got a chance to really make a run at this thing and potentially be a hosting destination. But at this point, we're just trying to stack wins, have winning weekends, and then we'll see where the chips fall at the end of the year. But I think it's fair to say Mississippi State baseball heading in the right direction. If you hadn't done so, go to WhenTheBottomFalls.com. You can get my newest book, When the Bottom Falls. As a matter of fact, I gifted one to Scott Strickland over the weekend. I won't gift it to you, but you can order one for yourself and get a signed or perhaps personalized copy. While you're there, you can pick up all my sports titles. That's Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, and Dogpile. And, of course, the new book, I submitted a couple more chapters today. The Dude will be open here in a couple months for pre-orders for that. We'll get to Memorial Day weekend more than likely, then we'll open it up for pre-orders. And I'm glad that we have this homestand here so I can really commit some time to work on that. I'll work on the book some this week. We'll punch out a couple more chapters and get those into the editing process. It is a long and laborious process, but it is very, very rewarding. And I can tell you that of all the historical books that I've written about Mississippi State, there's probably some things in this one that hardly anybody knows. It's interesting, too. Like, I have learned so many things that are wrong that have been reported, like when Duty Noble graduated, when he enrolled at Mississippi State, what age he was, that his first football win came against Mississippi A&M. That's actually incorrect. It was the second one. There's a lot of things out there that we've kind of accepted as fact, and we dig into it and we find out that the evidence doesn't support the, quote, facts that have been reported. And so I share that with you because I think it's important to understand that Wikipedia often has some mistakes, and that's about all that's out there about Duty Noble. But I aim to change that and do our best to educate our fans, but also, too, to honor the most decorated student-athlete in the history of Mississippi State. Hey, go to StarkVillains.com. You can get T-shirts and hoodies there. It's about T-shirt weather for most people, but maybe you're a hoodie person. If you got a teenager in your life, they're always wearing hoodies regardless of temperature. And you can get that taken care of in a variety of colors. And come be a part of everything over at GenesPage.com, the Mississippi State affiliate for 247 Sports. Be sure and check us out. Of course, we make a lot of content free. Spend a lot of time with you guys on Facebook. And don't forget the Dude Effect coming up this Thursday night at 8:30 Central. And if you hadn't, drop and check us out at True Rest. We've had a really, really busy week, and we thank you for that. A lot of new members, and members are everything when you're in this kind of business. But you can call 662-268-7601 to schedule or to learn more information. If you have questions, my wife is a registered nurse, and so if you have medical questions or how certain things would interact, she can tell you, right? But download the True Rest app today, and you can just go book online. It's as simple as that. Or visit the website. If you're not an app person, just go to the website. Say, Steve, I've got enough apps on my phone. Just visit the TrueRest.com website, and you can see all the great tutorials, and you can follow us, True Rest of Starkville, on all forms of social media. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.